The question is, if when you die, right, you find yourself in a place of judgment in front of God, and it ends up being the case that all those pesky Christians were right all along, what would your first statement be to God? If you could choose anything to say to God at that point, what would it be? Why?
If I found out that everything in the Bible was true, and that my entire life was, a test to see whether or not I accepted God, whether or not I grabbed onto faith or threw it away, I would feel like a rat in a maze. And I would want to tell God that I, as a sentient being, am not something that should be tested that way. And I believe that I would feel like my whole life was torture, like a lab rat, like a test rat, and I would want him to feel or know how I felt.
What sort of evidence would you find sufficient for you to abandon atheism and become a believer in God?
I believe that a burning bush and a booming voice might be sufficient for me to believe in God. Every time I've ever asked for a miracle like that, and I have, in good faith, in my life, asked for miracles like that, none of them have ever happened. And I would need something that would be something that you can't explain away by coincidence. I would need something that there was not a 50-50 chance of it happening anyway. I would need something that the only way that you could explain it away would be the presence of God at work. And another thing that I would really, really like for that proof, and I would probably require, would be verifiability, in that not only could it happen once, it could happen again and again and again, and circumstances could be put into place to make it happen.
Third, do you think the new atheist movement is ultimately a good thing or a bad thing for free thinkers and skeptics? I define the new atheist movement to be something like the following. The new trend of removing respect from religion in conversations, the sort of attitude that one finds in a Richard Dawkins or a Christopher Hitchens, where anti-theism starts to pop its head up a bit more.
To answer that question, I'd say that anything that gives people back their voice is a good thing. And personally, I've witnessed in my family a lot of intolerance, not just for atheism, but for example, I have a gay cousin who came to a wedding in my family, and she brought her girlfriend, and the entire family gawked at her, and half of the wedding became not about the wedding anymore. It became about my gay cousin and how she would dare to be gay in public. And it's the in public part that applies to this question. A lot of people believe that it's wrong for atheists to be atheists in public. And I don't know, because atheism might be infecting other people. Personally, I live in the deep south in Louisiana, and I've seen an old man tell another old man, where the old man was white, and he told another old man that was black, "Don't you talk to me that way, boy." And in doing that, he was telling the other guy, you are in a different position in life. And because you are part of this other group, you are not allowed to have an attitude at all. And I believe that categorizing people into groups and then questioning whether or not they should be able to have a certain kind of response is a form of prejudice. And that being said, I don't believe atheists have more bad attitudes than Christians, or less. I believe that both get persecuted in certain situations, and that when they get that persecution, they have normal human reactions, and some of those reactions are pent up for a long time, and they come out. Sometimes somebody gets the reaction that somebody else in the past should have gotten. And one thing in particular that happened to me recently was at a Thanksgiving dinner. I was asked to lead the prayer before we ate by people that knew that I was an atheist, and they put me on the spot just to showcase the fact that I was an atheist so that they could snicker behind my back later, because I just didn't want to lead the prayer. And when stuff like that happens, sometimes you get feelings, and those feelings will come out. And I think that anything that gives people back their voice so that they can express those feelings that come out, it's a good thing.
Fourth, what sorts of decisions are affected by your atheism?
One choice in particular that I can think of that is very strange and doesn't really fit one of your categories. It involves what I want to happen after death. While I was in the Army, I used to have non-denominational printed on my dog tags because I really didn't care what happened to me, as far as what if I died, what kind of service would I have? Would I have a Catholic or a Baptist? It didn't really matter to me. But after seeing the funeral of my own sister, and she was a Catholic, there was a part of her service that I particularly didn't like, where I felt like the church was proselytizing in the middle of her funeral service. And they held a communion right in the middle of a funeral service. And only the people who were confirmed Catholics in good standing with the church were allowed to take the communion wafer. And it created this scene right in the middle of her funeral that it kind of divided the people who could and could not. And from that point, I decided that I don't want any religious service performed for me when I'm dead. And that's irregardless of the people that the service is really for, the mourners. I don't want any service for me that is religious.
And lastly, my fifth and final question, what is more important to you as an atheist? I guess this could really apply to you as a person, not simply an atheist, but what's more important? Acquiring as many true beliefs as possible, or not acquiring as many false beliefs as possible?
I would have to say, given the two selections that you've presented, that not acquiring false beliefs is more important to me. But as an atheist and a skeptic, it's not just at the point of acquiring a belief that it is important for me to scrutinize. And I believe that every belief that I have should be scrutinized regularly. And it's only through that scrutiny that we get closer to truth, because every belief that we have has some little falsities in it. And the only way that we narrow down what is really true and false is by continuously scrutinizing what we believe. So, that's it. Those are my answers. And I'd just like to take this time to thank veritas48 for posting the initial questions and providing us all this forum for discussion. And I'd like to ask all other atheists that are posting on YouTube to please post your responses to Veritas so that people on both sides of the coin can learn from this experience.